Let's continue with the texture. One major thing that we are missing is our top layer, where we add details to the whole model and not just sections to it. So let's start by creating a group on top of all of this. We can call it top, for example. Inside, we want to create a fill layer where we only use metal and color and rough. We want to have it full white in the color, and we want to have it full black in the roughness, so it's super glossy. Now we want to add a black mask to it. We want to add a generator to it, and we want to get the mask editor. What we want to do with this one is we want to brighten up the highlights, basically. So we're going to use curvature. We're going to set it to edges, and we're going to get rid of the big ones. So we just have the small, fine, the small, fine highlights, basically. Okay, something like this. Let's call this highlights. Oh, highlights. Color-wise, if we check the base color, it's way too much already. So if we pull this down to, let's say, like 8 maybe or something, or 10, this should be more than fine already. If we check the difference, yeah, maybe it's even too much. Let's put it down to 6 maybe. Okay, cool. And in the roughness, if we change the roughness, we can pull this down to, let's see, maybe 20, 30, something like this. So if we go into the roughness channel, we can see just adds a slight black outline to everything. Okay, cool. The next thing we want to add is basically the opposite. We want to add cavities, so let's just duplicate this layer. Let's make it black in the base color and white in the roughness. Let's call it cavity. Let's go into the mask. And now let's check out our curvature again. Now we want to do basically the opposite, right? So we want to just change this to cavity. We want to maybe bring back some of those soft cavities, but not too much, I would say, because we're gonna add an AO anyway, so we just wanna have those lines. If we look at the base color now, see, yeah, we can, if we go back to the, well, let's check out the roughness first, but yeah, roughness looks fine with 30. Let's go to base color. Let's see. Oh yeah, we have to pump this up quite a bit, maybe 20. Maybe even more than 20. Let's do 30. Yeah, 30 looks fine. Next thing we want to do is an AO. So again, layer, fill layer, let's call it AO. Color rough again. For the color, I would say let's choose something brownish and roughness full white again. Then again, we want to add a black mask with a generator. We want to choose the mask editor again. And now instead of curvature, we're going to use ambient occlusion. And we want to set it to normal and invert it. Okay. Now, on top of this AO, because now it's very, very smooth and everything, we can break it up by introducing a texture. So if we add a fill layer, for example, and we choose some grunge map, let's see, something like this maybe. Let's change it to triplanar. Let's bump up the tiling a bit, like this. Now if we set this one to overlay, you can already see it breaks up the whole thing. Now if we turn down the opacity a bit, and maybe the tiling as well a bit, you can see it breaks up the whole ambient occlusion. Okay, so let's see how opaque you need this. Maybe again, like 20, 30%, something along those lines. Let's see, yeah, this should be enough. And the same again for the roughness, 30% should be fine. Yeah, should be fine. Now another thing that I like to do is I'd like to, because if you take a look at the roughness now, it looks very flat, right? So what I like to do is introduce an overall breakup. And the way I do it is I use fingerprints. So let's add another fill layer, and now let's add this fingerprints layer to it. The fingerprints texture to it. Let's also call this fingerprints. Now, if we change the blend mode to overlay, and then the opacity like to 20, 30 again, you can see it just adds this slight breakup. We can actually see it pretty well on metals, for example. Yeah, you see it breaks the metal up a bit. It just adds this noisy pattern on everything, just in roughness. The next thing we want to do is add those two masks that we anchored before in here, the bright and the dark mask. To do that, we're gonna create the fillet again. Call this one darker. We're gonna make it darker. Like this. So rougher and darker. Again, we want to change the texture, basically what we did to the highlight. So to the cavities, we want to make it like 30% rough. We want to make it only a bit visible, or like 20% visible. We want to add a black mask again. Inside this black mask, we want to add a fill layer now. And inside this fill layer, we want to add the darker mask anchor point. So if we go to our darker mask now, and we start painting in here, you will see it gets moved up to this mask. So let's, for example, paint out this element here. So that's something I normally do. Paint out elements or fill in elements that have the same material than the underlying material, so we can differentiate a bit and add some more interest. So let's just fill in this element now. We could have also already done this in the ID map process, but normally when I do the ID map, I just focus on different materials and not change within one material. So I normally do this in this stage. Okay, let's do this fairly quickly. And as you can see, it already adds some difference between those elements. We can do the same on the other side. We can do the same on top of this guy. Basically everywhere where we feel like it's too often the same material on top of each other or next to each other, and we just wanna break up the overall look or the overall color of everything. Okay. So that's something I do with the darker mask. Another thing that I do with this darker mask is, so let's rename this paint, for example, to flat surfaces or just surfaces. And then on top, we can create a new paint and call this one dirt, for example. And now we can start introducing dirt. What I normally do is take one of those textures that I like I don't know, paintbrush, for example. And then I can just go in and, for example, add a dirt splotch here, like this. Then I just go in and clean up those materials where I don't want to have it. Maybe add a little fade to it. And we have our dirt splotch. And that's something I normally do to the whole model. Like I find elements where I would like to add some dirt. Here, for example. Then we're gonna clean it up. Clean this one up. Like this. Okay. Exactly. So that's what I normally do. I do those two passes with the dark one. With the bright one, we're gonna do something very similar. We can, if assets overlay and you feel like one should be brighter than the other one, like let's say we want this one to be brighter, we can just go in exactly and brighten this thing up. Looks like it's not actually doing anything. Let's check out why. Oh, I didn't set it up yet. Makes sense. Okay, let's just duplicate this one. Let's call it bright color. We're gonna do the complete opposite. So we're gonna go for white and reflective. You can also change this around if it doesn't fit your model, by the way. And inside the fill, we're gonna pick the right mask. Like with the highlights, we need to tone down the opacity in the color way much. And then we wanna start painting again. So as you can see, we can introduce like brighter elements like this. Maybe this doesn't look as good. Let's get rid of this. Where could we do it? Let's see. What about this guy here? Yeah, if we just brighten the sleeve up a bit, as you can see, it's not a whole lot, but it's enough to make a difference here. So that's what we can do. And again, let's go to surface. Again, let's add a paint layer. Let's call it dirt. And now we can start introducing dirt splotches again, but not as we did before. Here, I wouldn't use those alphas. What I would do here is just use the paintbrush, and we want to introduce manual cavities, manual edge lines, basically. So something along those lines. It's getting a bit thin here. So just using very straight lines. Let's see again. Very straight lines here. Like this. Exactly to fake this manual stylized breakup finish. So some chipping or weathering or whatever you want to call it. Okay. Let's cut this like this. Let's see. Yep, exactly. So those are the two things I would do with this brighter layer. Let's do one more here. Then let's continue with the rest. Exactly. Okay, cool. So those are the layers, right? And on top of all of those, we want to get two more layers in. First of all, we want to get an HSL. So just put HSL in here. Let's find it. Where is it? We've clicked HSL. We want to drag and drop it in here. And all we want to do is pump up the brightness of all of it. So if you see, just pump up the brightness, but not by that much, just 0.55 or 0.6, something like this. Just so everything gets a bit more saturated. I will do this at the end. And then on top of this, I'm going to add a sharpen. Exactly. Again, it's too much if we keep it to 1. So let's do just 0.5 maybe, or it's too much, let's see, 0.5, 0.3, something like this. Maybe it's even too much. Let's do 0.3. Yeah, that's better. So just a sharpen to sharpen all the details basically. And that's basically it for the texturing. So what I would do now, I will go over off screen, add more of those brightness and darkness breakups. I will check again all the material zones if I missed something. And that's about it. What you can do if you wanna improve it more, for example, is add surface noise or surface height details. The way to do this is, let's go to our fabric, for example, and let's say we introduce some height variation on our fabric. Let's create a layer underneath. Let's call it height. We just need the height. We're gonna add black mask again. Let's add a fill, and now let's just choose fabric. Substance comes with a lot of fabrics already, but you can add your own as well. Like those guys, for example, I created some time ago. Now, as we can see, we see nothing because we don't have a height set yet. So let's just bump up this height a bit so we can see what we're working with. Now let's change this to triplanar and let's just like pump it all the way up until we have a size that we feel like could fit our asset. So yeah, let's just keep it like this for now. Yeah, this would fit actually. The height, I guess, is way too much right now. It's just not very subtle. So 125, very subtle height difference. But as you can see now, it's on everything, even though it's inside this layer. Yeah, this group, it's on all the other groups as well. A way to fix this is changing the height in all the other folders. So what I always do is I go to this matte rough layer, I enable height, but don't change anything. So if we look for the height map now, that's how it looked before. Now I enable the height on this one. Now it's actually filled with something. But as you can see, it still doesn't work, right? So let's go to our fabric now, the fabric beige, which would be this one. Let's change, let's put some height in there as well. And it still doesn't change anything. The reason for this is that if we go to our height layers, you can see the group itself is set to add, to linear dodge add, which doesn't work for the height if you want to do the setup. So you want to change it to normal. The whole group, let's go normal. Yes, as soon as we change to normal, we can see it doesn't affect this group anymore. So what we want to do now is we want to go into every group, set the height to 0 here, and change the whole layer to normal. So height and normal. Let's do this very quickly. And exactly. So that's basically what you can do now. Add those details on the different materials, add brighter and darker color variations, and yeah, finalize the whole model like this. As I said, I will do this off screen now, and I will get back to you as soon as I'm done with the texturing.